I would like to take this opportunity to invite Dr. Sudhir K. Jain, our patron and session chair, to address the inaugural session.
Thank you. Delighted to be here, ladies and gentlemen, today. I usually avoid attending events in IIT Gandhinagar, but this particular event, there is no way I could have avoided, and you will see why. I think this is a very, very important activity, and you will understand towards the end of what I have to say. We are an 11-year-old college. We were set up in 2008, and we said to ourselves that many of us get a chance to teach in a university or to run a university, but very few of us get a chance to create a university. And we said that is a very valuable opportunity, and that should be taken a very serious note of, that we are not in an old institution. We are in a new institution. You could look at it in a different way. You could say we are a new institution, therefore we didn't have campus. When Raj Srinivasan brought 10 or 12 scholars from Saskatchewan, we didn't have even a room like this. We didn't have a campus. We didn't have any infrastructure of worth mention. So you could say that, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that. But we thought, no, let's not look at that. Let's look at what we have that others don't have. And that was youth. That was the ambition. That was the hope. That was opportunity to create something altogether new. And therefore we said, can we remain an IIT but be a different IIT? Can we do the right things that our peer institutions, which are 50, 60, 70-year-old, would like to do but cannot do? Why they cannot do? It is like my body is so rigid now, I can't bend myself the way a one-year-old child can bend. As a one-year-old college, we could bend ourselves, we can be flexible, we can do things that a 60-year-old college cannot do. And we said, what are those things? And to define that, we said, we will first be very clear why we are here. We are here for three things. We are here for students. For us, students are our highest priority. It is very, very unfortunate that many of us teach classes as a burden because we don't like to teach. It is not a place for those people here. We like people who really like students, who think that they are here for the students. And for a student is not the student who is paying tuition fee to IIT Gandhinagar. For a student is a student, can be in India, can be outside India, can be inside IIT Gandhinagar, can be in Ahmedabad, can be in Chennai, can be in Kashmir, it doesn't matter to us. A student is a student is a student. The second thing that we said to ourselves is that we are here not for creating our credentials. You see, a lot of times people do research because it enables them to publish and makes them feel good. It makes them being able to say that, look, how big I am as a scholar, my article has been published in such and such journal. That's not what we are for. We are here for making an impact. We are here for making a difference. How do you make a difference? You make a difference by taking up interesting problems, for doing interesting things. Why would somebody trust you with an interesting problem and money to do that? They need your credentials. So while we think that credentials are a necessary condition in order to make an impact, they are not the end by itself. What does it mean? It means that if I were to hire a young student, if I were to hire a young faculty, obviously I will hire them based on their credentials. But we don't want 50-year-old professors talking about only credentials. We want them to be talking about impact. They should be talking about how they change the world, how they change their lives, how they change the students, how impactful their presence was, how the taxpayers' money spent on them was well spent. To us, that is the second important thing. The third important thing for us is that we want to be very global in our ambitions. We want to be very global in our outlook, and yet we want to be very grounded. We want to not run away from the realities of the country, of the society in which we are situated. And a very fine example of that is, we are perhaps the only institution in the country where 40 or 45% of our undergraduates leave the institute after 4 years, after having been outside India at least once, fully paid, not depending on the parents' money. And we also are having 40% of our undergraduates, 45% of our undergraduates would graduate from IIT Gandhinagar after experiencing what is called Explorer Fellowship, where in 38,000 rupees, they would spend 42 days in the country, traveling length and breadth of India on an extremely low budget, where they are supposed to travel ordinary second class, not air-conditioned class, in a summer, in a hot summer, where they will have to sleep in dharamshalas, they'll have to sleep on the railway platforms, they will have to save money to eat food. This is a life-transforming experience for these students to understand what India is all about. So that is what I mean by having global ambitions, global aspirations, but being very grounded. These are the three things that define us, I think, in some ways, in terms of our aspirations. And where does this humanities and social science fit in this place? Where does, in these three baskets, it does fit in? The idea here is that the graduates that you produce, the engineering graduates that you produce or the humanities graduates that you produce, they must be different. If we are going to put so much focus on the student, then the students should show that they are different, which means that they are problem solvers, which means they're interdisciplinary, which means that they are not hiding behind the curtain and saying, oh, I am civil engineer and this is an electrical engineering problem, or I'm an electrical engineer and this is a mathematics problem, or I'm a computer scientist and this is a humanities problem. They will be interdisciplinary, they will solve the problems, they will be part of the solution, not part of the problem. It means that my entire educational experience has to break the boundaries. I cannot do that if I become very narrow in my outlook, in my curriculum, in my faculty configuration. It also provides us an opportunity to break the silos of disciplinary research. If somebody were to come to IIT Gandhinagar as a faculty member, the kind of opportunities for interdisciplinarity that IIT Gandhinagar provides, we believe that there will be rarely any university anywhere in the world that might have that kind of an opportunity. Let me give this just one example. Recently, I had a colleague from Canada who had attended Shastri, and then later he came to visit me. And I was mentioning to him that 15% of our PhD students have their sole supervisor from different discipline. And he said, co-supervisor. I said, sole supervisor. He said, co-supervisor. I said, listen to me, sole supervisor. And he was shocked. You could be a PhD student in mathematics and your PhD supervisor could be from any discipline other than mathematics, and you will get a PhD from IIT Gandhinagar. To us, that is the limit to which we will go. What it means is that if you were to come here and not take advantage of that, either as a student or as a faculty, you're really not taking full advantage of what IIT Gandhinagar provides. If you were to come here to IIT Gandhinagar, and somebody like Dr. Annapurna, she must have done her MA in English literature, PhD in English literature, and if she were to come to IIT Gandhinagar and say, I'm an English literature person and I will do what English literature people do in University X, University Y, University Z, she is really not taking full advantage of IIT Gandhinagar. Because she should really look for opportunities where she is really intermingling with people from cross boundaries, from cross disciplines, whether those are within humanities and social science space or whether they are outside humanities and social science space. So that is what we are looking for. We are looking for really scholarship coming out of IIT Gandhinagar, which is interdisciplinary, which is problem oriented, which is not credentials oriented. I don't know how many of you noticed, especially all the students must be here for the first time, and some of my colleagues from Canada must be here for the first time. How many of you noticed that when you entered into the institute, the boundary wall that the institute has is a very different boundary wall? If you have not noticed it, notice it now. Anytime any new university is created in India, and a lot of universities are being created in India, private sector as well as public sector, government money as well as private money, the first thing they do is get the land, make a boundary wall. In our case, we said we will make the boundary wall later. Let's first get our business going. Why? Because we said boundary wall is our first introduction of what this institute is all about. And we need a lot of thought about designing that boundary wall. Because boundary wall is something that you notice even if you have no connection with IIT Gandhinagar, but you are passing through that highway. And we said our boundary wall should convey our transparency. It should convey our inclusiveness. It should convey that you are welcome. If somebody is driving through that highway and he notices that boundary wall, he should see something happening inside and he should say, can I drive in? Can I see what is happening? He should be able to walk into our library and read the books and talk to the librarian and say, how can I borrow your books? Somebody totally stranger should be able to walk into our institute and should be able to avail the facilities in the institute. That is our ambition. In fact, one of our very interesting programs that people get very surprised about is called non-degree program. Our challenge is any student, any non-student who wants to learn from IIT Gandhinagar will not shut its door on it. As I speak to you today, we just had 10 students from different engineering colleges who stayed at IIT Gandhinagar for one full semester, stayed in our hostel, did our courses, paid our fees as if they were our students. And they were given the grading A, B, A minus, B plus, the way it is given to our students. These are full-time students elsewhere who came to spend one full semester here. But somebody else who says, I want to come and do this course on digital humanities being taught by Professor Rath, we will register that student and we will give him the grade for that. People get very surprised about that. Now, when you look at the winter school that we are today starting, I think it meets all the things that IIT Gandhinagar talks about. And I will explain to you, and that is why I wanted to be here today. What does winter school involve? It is focused on students. We have collected, 40 almost, 41 students from across the country. We want to be very inclusive. We have 41 students, brightest that we can find in this country, who have gathered here, and we are very delighted to host them here and be part of their journey for academic pursuits. This whole thing was envisaged that this will be not taught only by IIT Gandhinagar faculty, but it will be a global enriching experience. And we have now a very strong faculty, both from Canada and I understand some people from India. And 23 Indian speakers, wonderful, good. Very, very interdisciplinary. As Raj Srinivasan said, Google would not have been created if people did not understand the society and they didn't understand the mathematics. And to me, this is really what the topic is all about, right? So very, very interdisciplinary. So my contention is today that this winter school really meets many, many items that will be very high on the priority for leadership at IIT Gandhinagar. For people who understand IIT Gandhinagar, they really would understand what it is all about. We are extremely grateful for the partnerships that we have. University of Saskatchewan, some of the speakers talked about the tickets, somebody talked about expensive tickets, Christmas time, December. I think that is all trivial as compared to the time that they have given. I think if you look at these scholars who are traveling 20 hours, 24 hours, 27 hours to be here, to be able to talk to you, to lecture to you, to share their knowledge, I think that time is what is important. Somebody can buy the ticket, but how do you buy the time of a scholar? And I think I'm most grateful to the colleagues from Saskatchewan and their administration, their deans, their people who made it happen. The Shastri has been a new entity as far as my own understanding is concerned. First time I heard about Shastri was around 2011 when there was a conference in Calgary. I think that conference was in 2012 or something. And I happened to have the opportunity to participate in it and understand what it is all about. I think this is a very fine example of building academic connections between Canadian academics and Indian academics, and we are very, very grateful to Shastri Foundation for Shastri Institute for being part of it, and for Dr. Prachi Kaul to be able to spend time. I know she just finished a very, very high-profile conference in Delhi, and I know how much aftermath of that conference must be. So the fact that she came to personally join us today must be quite a bit of stretch for her, and we are very grateful. Things like these don't happen in thin air. They happen because of passion and commitment of individuals. And I think in Dr. Annapurna Rath, we have a very enthusiastic, very engaged, very committed colleague at IIT Gandhinagar who just takes anything and takes it to a logical end, puts all her energy, all her resources on it. And Annapurna, we are very proud of what you have done here today. Thank you, and I hope you will keep doing it. Professor Clifford, we are thankful to you, and nothing like Raj Srinivasan, the mathematician who was very reluctant to talk to me first time I met him in Calgary, because he thought I was doing a sales job on him. I was trying to get him to come to IIT Gandhinagar, and he was just not letting me move. But I think after a couple of meetings, he understood that we are a little bit more serious than many others that had perhaps asked him to be engaged. And he has been a very, very strong supporter of the Institute and of the collaboration between Saskatchewan and IIT Gandhinagar. I would not imagine that without him, the Saskatchewan would be having the kind of partnership that we have with them today. And finally, to the students who have come from elsewhere in the country, I hope you will learn good digital humanities, but I hope that is not the only thing you will do. Ours is a very nice campus. Go around, experience it, see what is interesting things happening, ask questions. There are certain publications about the campus on the internet. There are hard copies we can provide to you if you are so interested. Maybe Annapurna, you can keep one set of those publications outside if somebody wants. They can pick up those copies, but there are all soft copies are available on the internet. How did we design the classrooms? How did we think about the academic area? How did we think about the hostel? Why did we design the hostel the way we have designed? All of that we have documented. How is it that we use water? How is it that we optimize the use of water? How is it that the rooftop water we actually use for drinking? How is it that all the sewage that we have, we treat it without mechanical energy through natural plants and use the effluent coming out of that plant back into horticulture? How is it that we have our dining hall where you will be perhaps eating many of your meals? How is it that we have tried to bring thermal comfort without putting air conditioning on it? You will read a lot of that interesting stuff. I hope you will take some time to understand that. But more importantly, I think buildings are easy to create. Buildings are not so difficult to create. I think it is the ethos and the culture that is harder to create. And I hope you will talk to our students. You will just not sit together in your own group, but will penetrate into a group of students eating and talk to them and try to understand that are these students any different? Because if their head of the institution is talking about all this, is it really percolating down to the students? And I challenge that perhaps you will find that there is something very, very interesting that is happening in the student culture and student values. And as I said, we are a very inclusive institution. I hope this will be your first but not the last visit. You will find ways to engage with our faculty, to engage with our students, and we are always happy to receive back any of our visitors, whether they are students or they are scholars. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you will have a very fruitful 2 weeks winter school. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.